everyone. Welcome to the show. You're watching Variety Talk Live. I am your host, Linda Leak, and welcome to February. Wow, we finally got a chance to get January out of the way, 2025, and OMG, what a January 2025. Before we even unfold that, our hearts go out again and our prayers go out again to all of those who were devastated in the fires, those who are still suffering, trying to get relief in many ways from the devastation in Los Angeles. Our prayers go out to the families, all 67 at this point, of those who were lost in the airline crash or who perished, say, in the airline crash. And to those who are just feeling uneasy right now, we all need to take a deep breath. So today, this February, as we embark on a brand new month, we want to take the time out to celebrate and to remember those who came before us, who worked so hard to be able to even have a Black History Month, and those who created this Black History Month by being the Black History. And so I'm really happy today to bring on someone with me who I am so very proud of and honored to have her on our show. This person is an actress. She's a dancer, a vocalist. You probably would have known her as in the 1971 film Diamonds Are Forever. And she was the very first African American female that played along Sean Connery in the film Diamonds Are Forever. And her name was Thumper. So we're here today to just celebrate her for all of the work that she's done. You'll have an opportunity to hear about that. And most of all, to share with everyone who did not know her experiences in making Black history, Black history. And she's in the process of finishing her autobiography. And we want to make sure, and as a matter of fact, it's entitled They Call Me Thumper. She's also a Lifetime Achievement Award, and she received it from who other than President Barack Obama. She's also won other awards that we'll speak of later on. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on someone I'm very, very happy and pleased to talk with today, Lady Trina Parks. Trina, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. So glad to be here and see you, even if it's on film.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm so glad to see you, even if it's just on film. Hope to see you in person soon.
That's right. See you also. The last time we did this together, we were. It was actually, Trina. I don't know if you remember, but it was 4 years ago, because it was during the election time before this election time. And you came.
Wow, what's it? Yeah, I know it's been a while.
It's been a while, and it's always. But it was not Black History Month, and you did not have your autobiography that you're working on. And so I'm just pleased and honored to be able to bring you on at such a time right now when everything is just so up in the air regarding, let's just face it, bills that are being dismantled. The 1965 Discrimination Act is gone. And so, what a better time to come on and be able to give a little flavor and share with the younger ones what it's really been all about, as our parents were, paving the way for us and for you to be able to do what you have done. So we're going to take a break right now before we get started and just let everybody decipher that. And we'll be back in a moment. Everyone, you're watching Lady Trina Parks, actress, model, author, philanthropist, and anything else you want to think of. She's done it all right? And you're sitting in on our very first Black History segment. We'll be back in a moment.
Need a loan? Consider a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage will provide tax-free cash, eliminate monthly mortgage payments, and offers a financial safety net. If you can use a loan, call Jordan Gibbs today at 323-899-5547. That's 323-899-5547.
We're back. Welcome back to the show. Again, happy Black History Month. As I was saying earlier, February is pretty special because there's Black History, there's Valentine's Day, which means love. There at the end of the month, we're going to be entering Fat Tuesday in New Orleans. Oh, speaking of New Orleans, there's the Super Bowl. So it's a pretty big month. So hopefully we
Yeah.
can feel excited and happy and come out of a very strange January and begin a
Yeah.
new. So without further ado, again, I'm happy to have you as the very first, meaning, speaking of first, you were the very first African American woman to play right along Sean Connery. And I'll give you a chance to talk about that. But you're also our very first guest in Black History Month. And
Thank
as
you.
a female, I'm so proud of you as a female
Thank
artist,
you.
and then what you've accomplished. So let's just begin with that. I want to just open up and ask you, first of all, you moved from Hollywood to Atlanta, and even though it's been a few years, it feels like it was just yesterday. How was your move?
Hmm.
How does it feel to be in Atlanta now rather than in Hollywood?
Actually, I actually like the weather better in Los Angeles. I'm
Okay.
telling you that much. But my daughter and my grandchildren are here, and I have a 7-year-old now, great grandson, my oldest grandson and his wife. So I'm close to them now. Even though the weather, being in California and Los Angeles so long, and actually I actually moved from Palm Springs, California, because I was doing the Palm Springs Follies for like 8 years, and I
Wow.
actually also was the first Black female uh, featured singer dancer in that show. The show,
So tell us about
I
the
think, yeah,
Follies. What's that all about?
it started in, I think it was '96, and you had to be 58 and over to be in the Follies. That was the big thing, the very thing of the show is that here we have the dancers and singers that are 58 and over. And when I joined it in '02, I wasn't quite 58 yet. I would be 58 when the show starts. So
Okay.
they said, okay, it's okay, we'll hire you, but you had to be 58 and over because everyone would talk about their experiences, all the dancers, as far as we have big costumes for the female dancers, actors. We would talk about a little bit about our experiences when we were announced. And they all were just wonderful dancers in their time. Like I said, I was the youngest then when I joined it, and I didn't even know about the Follies. I saw it in when it was the God, I forget the name of the studio, but it was up north LA, and had a advertisement about the Follies, and I knew about the Follies in Paris because I was there with Dunham for a year, And but I said, okay. And if you have your own show or your own act, to call them. So that's why I was there for so many years. But talking about the weather, in Palm Springs, it was hot all the time, and you could go swimming all the time. And that's what I miss. I love to swim. And
Me too.
yes, I was swimming in my role as stumper. That was me swimming, wasn't a stunt person. And
Oh,
I
wow.
just, I'm from New York, born in Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn and Harlem, but I never liked cold weather. And but yeah, so here I have to look on the phone what the weather is going to be every day in Atlanta. So that's the difference, and it was really different for me when I first came here. I said, "Well, do I wear boots or rain gear or do sandals? What is going on here?"
And you guys just
But
had
yeah,
snow. I mean, like the whole country
and
had a
then we
lot of
had snow. I don't believe snow was really a uh, kind of upsetting because I didn't even know it was snowing. I had the blinds closed and I was working on my autobiography, and then I happened to look out. I said,
snow.
What? And I'm back in New York?" But it was amazing. That's
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
been
what
fine.
a
I've been
disappointment.
teaching a
For,
lot.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying here I have been teaching at Spelman several times, teaching the Dunham, Catherine Dunham technique, which I
Wow.
teach all over the country, and there's several other studios, black-owned studios, which they have a few here.
What
So
is the
that's been really great.
for those of us who are unfamiliar? I apologize.
What's that? I didn't hear
What
you.
is the Catherine Dunham technique?
Catherine Dunham was the first black female choreographer back in the 30s. She had an all black company, dance company, which toured mostly in Europe and all the African countries and all that. I think she was honored. The Kennedy honors gave her honor, and I think it was the 80s. But uh, at that time that how I met her is I was going to the High School of Performing Arts in New York, and I majored in dance there, which was on 46th and Broadway. So I started going to the Dunham School, which was on 49th and 40, no, I'm sorry, 46th and Ninth Avenue. So I just walk up to her classes after school, get something to eat first a little bit, and then about an hour, then I take her classes. So I was taught by her and her original company members. One of my ballet teachers was a Carmen de Lavalade, who was married to Geoffrey Holder, yeah, at that time. So I that's how I got to meet Miss Dunham. And back in when I was like 12, 11, 12, I was dancing with Olatunji Babatunde, African culture uh, company. And so I was taught, African dance even before I went to PA, Performing Arts, where I was studying Martha Graham technique, which is modern, and then going to the Dunham School. So I had all that from back when I was 12, had that African in me already. So I was able to really grasp the the Dunham technique pretty fast because she is it's the base is Haitian, but she's also the African and the Cuban and the Brazilian, all that entangled in her choreography, her technique.
That is
So
so.
she asked. Mm-hmm.
That is so. And the reason why I didn't know about Catherine Catherine's technique, but I have certainly seen Oba Babatunde dance, and oh my
Yeah.
goodness, he's joined us on the
Uh-huh.
show now with an exclusive like yourself, and we were so proud to have him too because when he did
Yeah,
Sammy,
I know.
that's the one I remember the most, Bojangles, and he
Uh,
just off the charts. So you have been with the ones, quote unquote. And
Yeah.
that gave you, ever since you were a little girl, that
Yeah.
foundation in
Foundation.
in dancing. So that's how you. Did you ever want to dance as a child, or how did you get
All,
a desire?
always, always. I can't think of when I didn't. Um, I and my father, who I have to tell you that he is such, has been such an inspiration to me. He was the lead tenor sax man for Cab Calloway's band since
Wow,
like the mid 40s. In
wow.
fact, he was in Chicago with a Cab when I was born, and he stayed with him till about the 60, excuse me, early 60s or so, and taught me so much about music. And he had all the records of all the entertainers he had to play, and that records back then, back in the 50s and 60s were the records in record player.
Right, right. Those
If
vinyl
anybody doesn't know what that is, you put the thing down on the big record and it goes around and around and plays.
the LP the LPs.
You know?
Well, we're going to come back to that dancing
Yeah.
career. It's going to play a role in your story as we continue to move forward. Because what we want to do today is um, introduce you to the youngins that only just kind of stay in TikTok, or the iPod, even though you may be on TikTok yourself. So don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I just I I just meant for those who may not know about Mr. Bojangles with Oba Babatunde
Mm,
or Cab Calloway, or those fabulous names that you're mentioning
yeah.
that are historical, or
Yeah.
I don't mean to call you historical, but part of history.
Okay.
Okay, so my point is that that's the point that we're trying to get across today, to share with everyone. Ooh, I get touched because
Mm,
you know we are at a time right now where civil rights laws are being dismantled, have been dismantled.
mm,
And we have we have these Generation X, or we have these
mm,
younger ones that come in, and we have paved the road for them. And so they come in, and they with expectation that everything is just going to be there for them, particularly the
mm,
new millennium, or
mm,
and so they may at this point have to redo their lives and redo their,
mm.
because of what is being pulled away. And
Yes.
and so that's why this Black History time right now is so very important,
Yes, it
uh,
is.
so
Yes.
that they can get an edge and an
Yes.
idea about
Mm-hmm.
what it was like to have to go through what one went through,
Mm-hmm.
coming through segregation and coming
Yeah.
through the times where there were no anti-discrimination laws in place.
Yeah.
And so we're
Yeah.
going to get a chance to talk about that as well. So everybody, you're watching Variety Talk. I'm your host, Linda Leak. You're sitting there with the fabulous Trina Parks, the James Bond lady. We'll be back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Atkinson, financial consultant with Gnostic Solutions, powered by Appreciation Financial. I'm personally here today to invite you to learn more about financial empowerment. In today's world, financial literacy is the key to success. And we equipped you with the information that you're going to need and that knowledge you're going to need too. Financial literacy is not just about the numbers, because it's about your hopes, your dreams, and your family's future. You are unique, so we will make a unique game plan just for you and your family. The tools that we're going to be able to provide you is how to get out of debt, how to plan for retirement, where you should be investing, and so then you can stay retired and help your family's future get better. I would love to give a huge shout out to the Bud Billigan Back to School Parade for its 96th one, and a huge shout out to Variety Talks for their new fall season that's coming up. Again, this is Charlotte Atkinson, and you can reach me at 937-901-5686 or at Charlotte at Nosnicta Solutions. Again, no business or family is left behind with Nosnicta Solutions.
All right, everybody, we're back. And thanks for sitting in on us on our Black History segment with the fabulous Trina Parks. And there's so much to talk about her. I'm just like winded. And I want to make sure we get everything out because there's so much to talk about. And I'm so proud to have her on board. Look at how beautiful she is. And I'm telling you, she's got it. So we didn't get an opportunity when we first came on to talk about your experience as Thumper on and working along with Sean Connery in
Yeah.
007. So I'm going to do that as an open-ended question and just tell us, first of all, what was it like to be the first African American woman playing along Sean Connery? How did you even get the part?
Actually, I didn't even know I was because when my agent called me, I was with the Agency for the Performing Arts, and actually, uh, I was I did not coming from New York, and I in the dance world, mostly dance and theater. I really didn't see any James Bond movies. I had not seen any James Bond movies. I didn't know who. Well, I call him Sir Sean because he is that now. Bless his soul. He's gone now a few years, but he, I didn't know who he was. But I love my agency. Was so they were really nice to me. I was the second. Pam Grier was the only one in the agency, only black actor in the agency then. And then I came in, and me being a dancer and a singer too, uh, they were able to, cast me in different special TV specials and things like that. So um, I just, when they called me and said that that I had been submitted for this role for this movie, I didn't know what he was talking about, but I didn't tell him. And he said for this role of it would be for sort of like a bodyguard, but you would be a villain to fight James Bond. Okay, I liked the role. Um, Again, I had no idea who Sean Connery was, or Sean was, because I never had seen him. And at that back then, you didn't have cell phones where you could just click and see who that person was. It wasn't like that. So um, then he asked me, my agent Marty Klein asked me if I knew karate, and I said, yeah, I was taught karate by Catherine Dunham because she taught Haitian karate to us. That was one of our classes, which is La Agia. La Agia is it's called the fighting dance of the Haitian culture. And there's even a dance piece that she choreographed called La Agia. And I wasn't in that one. I was in Shango, but I'll tell you about that later. Um, so they scheduled a oral interview for me with some of the James Bond people that came in from England, and that was my first interview. Was oral, and they knew about my dance history and other things I've done, Broadway and all that. Um, and because the role, you had to be a strong dancer, but you also had to know karate because you're not going to fight in dancing. You're going to have to know karate.
Did
So,
the role call for an African American woman?
what's
Did
that?
did the role call for an African American woman?
That I've been asked. I have no idea. I wasn't told that this was specifically that they wanted African. Nothing like that was ever told to me. They just, they just presented me with the role, and I had again no idea that I would be the first black, female for that franchise, that 007 movie, because I had never seen one. So it was a great role for me. But my thing was that the role itself was I really liked the role. Again, people saying, "Oh, you're working with Sean Connery." Yeah, but it's like I'd worked on Broadway with several name actors, so he was, another name actor, and the most important thing was that role for
Mhm.
me. Uh,
Well,
yeah.
so you just what you did was you Trina them. You gave them the Trina Parks, and so it didn't matter whether it was called for an African American woman, a Latino woman, or whatever woman. You did, and that's what's so
Yeah.
great because you took all of your experience from
Mm-hmm.
those dance classes,
Yes.
the karate, as you mentioned, and you honed all that together, and you went out there and you trained them. and
I
I,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was just
Yeah.
just incredible, and you made history. You made history. And so that's what everybody needs to know and remember. And from that point on,
Mm.
after you, well, first of all, what was it like working with Sean? What was he like?
Oh, wonderful. It was like we both had worked together before. I was very comfortable. I wasn't nervous or anything. What I was doing something that I always loved to do. And it was like doing a dance role with acting. And there were cameras in front of me this time. That was no different. The
Yeah,
different was, when you do a scene, that's the scene,
right.
and then I mean for theater, when you do it, you can't do it over again like in film.
Mhm.
You can do it over again, but that was the only thing different. But I had so much fun, and so Sean was really very nice to me. I even was a little bit more surprised that he did more stunts than I thought he would. But back then, you're talking about 1970, uh, we did more stunts then than than later on in film history for actors, because one of the scenes, the last scene where we are drowning or trying to drown Sershan or 007, uh, we would not be under the water that long. We were under the water a long time because I mean, I knew it was going to be under the water, but I didn't know it was going to be all that time where the FBI and all those other guys come in and they talk, and they're still talking to 007, and we're still under there.
Wow.
Nowadays, we wouldn't be there. There would
No.
be the stunt people, then we'd come in
Hmm.
and do that. But yeah, and a couple other things that I was speaking to Lana Wood about, things that she did. So yeah, there were things that we did more than we would have done today
Hmm.
in film. But it was a 2 week shoot, which a lot of people think is really long for like a 4 minute, I think 5 minutes, something like that, scene. Uh, because the cameras were huge. They were huge. And each 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 little, type of set scene and had to be changed. The cameras had to change. And our set was like almost like a horseshoe type of set, you know. So yeah, it took a little bit longer
Hmm.
because of one thing, because of cameras, and you have the grips that have to take the wire, the cords and all, and make sure everything is, not caught up. And yeah,
Difference.
so
What?
I was on a show in
What? Oh, go
what's
ahead.
that? No, I
What?
did. To tell the truth, I was, on that show for the Anthony Anderson host, and one of the guests asked me if how long was the shoot, and she was in there for all the all the panel. They all were in their 40s,
Hmm.
so they weren't really that. They're thinking of nowadays shooting, right? And I said 2 weeks, and they said no, she couldn't. They were thinking no, she couldn't be the Bond woman because it would only take like maybe 2 days or 3 days nowadays. Yeah. 2 weeks without the weekend shooting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what did it feel like in to be that first? African American woman, because back then I know that everybody had to have made a big deal out of it because it's still a big deal now.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
remember
they did.
in the late 60s, there was Julia. There was, certain sitcoms cropping up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
African Americans were represented. Um, but in being right alongside of Sean Connery, I'm sure there was a lot of publicity around that, lots of questions. What sticks out the most in your mind in terms of being that first African American female? What sticks out the most?
Actually, a surprise, I guess I would say to myself, because I really, the way I can remember pretty much is how I found out was one, a dancer friend of mine called and said, that did I know that I was the first? I know. And that was before we had the opening at the Graham's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And surprisingly, too, when I was, at the opening, and when my scene came up, people, I guess I'm saying maybe more females were like, yeah, yeah, go, they were like screaming for
Absolutely.
me to get it. And it surprised me because I'm a villain. And I'm saying, why are they? But I'm beating up
And,
Sean,
and
but,
you did such a graceful way. You were so graceful.
people say
I,
that.
I love all of your moves. So, kudos to all of the people, Oba, Babatunde, all of your dance teachers, everybody. Kudos
Yes,
that they prepared you to do what you're
yes.
doing. And we're
I
just
do. Yes, thank you. I really do credit Miss Dunham, for teaching me, the strength of her technique and of course the karate and Joffrey Holder, who I was in his company, and his things were like arms. He loved arms movement. And in fact that's what I do when I first bring my arm out to Sashan to bring me down off the rock, which is a real rock, by the way. All of that was real rock. No plastic rock.
wow. But I remember
So yeah,
that
real rock, because that
running.
house, it was built off of the rock, which is on the highest highest of rimrod off of Palm Canyon in Palm Springs, and you can't even see it. And you can see Bob Hope's house, which is like a spaceship, cup round um, top, and then the Bond house is above that. It's really up high.
I remember that.
Um, yeah, I didn't realize. No, we were going. I said, "Oh, we're still going up the mountain to the house." But yeah, the house was built from there, and no, it was nothing fake. And that's why actually it's in my book, in my autobiography. But I didn't do the dive. I can dive, no, but they wouldn't because I was SAG, Screen Actors Guild. The other lady, which Mary is her real name, she was in the Olympics at that time. She was like about 16, I think. So they hired her. And that was the other thing why it took a couple of more days, because the original lady that was actor, that was Bambi, I think they wanted someone that could do those Olympic type of things on in the air and all that, and keep me on
Right.
the ground,
Yeah.
And maybe I wasn't told that, of course, for what? I don't need to know that.
She was
But then
young. She was very young.
oh yeah, that was the first and the only film she did. She did because they particularly wanted that, type of thing for her to do, and she did. She did a great job. She's been in the medical field. She's a very well-known CEO in the medical field now.
Right.
She's not, in films, and in fact, all the shows, the autograph shows I've done, people ask, where is Bambi? We want to have Bambi with you too. Nah, she's not interested.
Well, you two make a
It's like
great
I'm not interested.
you made a great team. Now you mentioned your autobiography, and that's something that we want to dive into because we want everybody to hear the story. And you've got so much to talk about in that autobiography that is not out yet. But we want to just get everybody geared up and ready.
Yeah.
This, as I mentioned, is a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient from President Barack Obama. And before we get into that, tell us a little bit about that since we're right there. Let's dive right into that before we get into your book. Tell us about that experience. What was it like to receive that Lifetime Achievement Award from Barack Obama?
It's hardly any words really from the dictionary that I could even say that equivalent to how I felt. And I really am so very blessed and to have received that. And I really do thank my friend who is a friend of the lady who worked with President Obama. She might still work in that position where she collects names for the Lifetime Achievement Awards, and a lot were for well-known pastors, and, people in the communities that have done many community works, good works, and so she was saying that she wanted my all my bio and all that. And she said, but mainly uh, uh, Barack Obama, does know about me being the first Black female 007 woman, but it's about the community service that I've done from back in the 70s, where I've been teaching, Black and white, but teaching about Black history and mainly about theater and dance. And when I teach either Dunham technique, which is, the black Dunham is Black female, but Martha Graham is white. But being taught that technique also, I've taught that. But I gear more so for Dunham because most people, especially our Black dancers, don't really know that much about the Dunham technique. So some might not even know about Miss Dunham. And so that's what I've adamantly done when I teach, which I still do teach with an assistant this time because I'm not jumping and falling and all of that anymore. But I I teach about her history first before I start any step, anything, and we usually start on the bar. But I want the young people to know who she was and what she created, and this is what we're going to do. And I am very blessed to be still around to do that because everybody is gone. Um, I worked with the company in '64 at the Apollo, and that was when I first worked with the company. I was the youngest then. I was 15. But I did the piece Shango. And also, that's her big 25-minute or so ritual and dance piece from Haiti. And I did a small Cuban piece trio with Benoit in the middle and myself and another lady. And I had that experience with her, and I cannot I cannot just start teaching the technique without teaching about her.
Oh, that's
There's
beautiful.
no way I can do that. And I say, any class that I'm doing, I've got to have at least, sometimes I do a whole program, like a whole almost 45 minutes on her because I have film about her, speak about her. I have a Q&A, which is, I think in March, I have a program coming up here at a high school.
Trina, tell us about what separates that Dunham technique from any other dancing technique, because inquiring minds want to know as well. I opened up not being ignorant myself in terms of this this dance teacher. So share with us What separates her from the average dance teacher?
Yeah. In a way, you have to be there to see this technique. Miss D created. I think I said it before about all the different cultures together, but her main base is Haitian. When she had her thesis in 35, she she settled in Haiti and lived with the people of Haiti, gathered her knowledge of all their culture, living, everything, and she actually became a mambo there, and they really they allowed this American from United States to live with her, and she gathered all of that and she put it in her the choreography. She put all the Latin, the Cuban, the African, and again, like I said, the base of is Haitian. It's a bar that is not like any other. Okay, she did do ballet, so there's a little bit of ballet, there's a little bit of modern in there, but the whole thing is a completely different type of movement from the bar on the floor to across the floor,
So
which is isolation.
She created her own little dance routine based on pulling from each culture and make it into one. And you were actually able to utilize that as Thumper.
Yes.
And that's what made it. You can see it. You can really see it when you're out there doing those moves, because you're not just doing karate. You can tell that you're a dancer and you're moving. So that is awesome. And so what you've done now, tell us about how you've been teaching the youth now and actually taking these dance moves and passing those on. You mentioned that you won't get started first until you give the history of Dunham.
Right.
And you go right into teaching dance classes and dance moves.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Like if I'm teaching like at high school and we have an hour class, I'll ask if I can have maybe a 20-minute more because we can't do a whole 2 hours or 145, just to tell them about this person, about this woman that we're going to that started all of this, that's about Miss Catherine Dunham. And I have film on her, but this is what I have to do because nowadays young people don't know where these techniques come from. A lot of teachers, not all, but I'd say most younger teachers, they just start, teaching. They don't tell the kids what's the history about what are you dancing about? And that's the one thing that I so appreciated from all the choreographers I worked with, starting with Miss D, with Shango, is that she sat us down before we did one step to tell us about what this piece was about. What are you doing? You're not in the studio. You're in Haiti. You're in where the woods and the animals and the trees, and your feet are in the grass and the sand. And, this is what you've got to feel to do this dance. You are going to be possessed in this dance. And if you're not, then you're not in the dance. But she would sometimes say, the thing about it, this plus Donnie McHale would do it. Callie Beatty, who was one of her lead dancers, I was in his company after a little bit later in the 60s, late 60s. Joffrey Holler, they all did the same thing. They all explained details of what you are doing, what you have got to feel. Study this.
Do you see that as being the difference back then in terms of those instructors giving detail, just like you did with your students, versus what is taking place now with teaching? What do you see being the biggest difference with African American teachers?
Yeah, I think they're losing that. I think they need to go back to what the kids call back in the day, where that happened more so. I know with all the choreographer teachers I worked with.
And
Mhm.
what do younger ones have to look forward to as we embark upon this new season of lack of laws for to actually assist justice for African Americans?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? What do we have to look forward to, or what advice do you have to help us maintain, in spite of those laws
Yeah.
not in place?
I know it's a sad thing to think of that, you're going backwards instead of forward like we were trying to do. I kind of compared to back when I was, uh, going for Broadway shows where they weren't hiring black females, like not black males either, but, we would go, my friend and I would go to different ones, and we weren't hired because of whatever, but because basically, we were black. And we know we were dancing as well as the others. But we kept on going. And then I see now where the last year, a few years, the black dancers are being hired, like in Hamilton. Hamilton was white, wasn't he? And but you've got all these black dancers, right? Back if there was Hamilton back in the 60s, we wouldn't be hired. No, not at all. But we kept on going because we knew we had something. And we finally, Kevin Carlisle did a choreographer who was very close to black dancers. He's gone now, but he hired a lot of black dancers um, for her first Roman with Leslie Uggams and Richie Kiley. Leslie played Cleopatra, and Richie Kiley played Anthony. And
Okay.
so that was few and far between for us to be hired. But now fortunately, they have casting people or choreographers that are open. They've opened the tunnel, and I just hope it's stays open. I was seeing a play at the Delacorte in New York. I can't think of the name, but it was a Shakespeare play, and it was a male character, and he was a king. Still not coming to me, but there was a black female that played the king's role. I was so surprised. My cousin, who's an actor, she invited me, and see, I'm up in the front seat, and I'm seeing this character. I didn't even realize it was a female, but she did a wonderful job. And I'm thinking back in the 60s, that would never happen. They would never cast a black female to be, especially a black, they would cast a black male, let alone black female, to play a male role. And she was wonderful. And I was so glad to see that. And the king's wife was disabled. Well, she was absolutely in a wheelchair. And she was, I think, mixed, maybe Mexican or, some. And her friend was Indian. So they had all of these ethnicities in this Shakespeare play.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, I'm thinking, why not?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know why it wasn't that way back then. And I'm even going further back where when I took the audition for High School of Performing Arts, I wanted to be in the ballet department because I did toe work then. And I was the only one that took the audition for the ballet department when I took the audition with for the high school performing arts, and the two modern dance teachers, which were original Martha Graham members of the Martha Graham Company back in the 40s, they came to me and said, "Would you like to come for the modern dance, audition?" I wasn't really into going really. I wanted to go into the ballet department. But of course, I didn't know why. But the reason was they weren't taking any black females in the ballet department at all. And that didn't happen until I think when the school moved to LaGuardia and music and art, MA and PA were together. But I did have ballet, of course, and we had toe, but my major was Graham. And also Graham would come and teach us too. I mean, I had such great iconic teachers.
Yeah.
Graham,
Yeah. And,
Donnie, and Alvin, and Tally, and
and
all those people.
had you bust straight through the ceiling, break through that glass ceiling, and that is what is so major. And so we
Yeah,
want to, continue to encourage everyone to read your book and to check out what you had to go through
yeah,
as an African American, but an African American female in the
yeah,
70s, in the 80s, and all the way up and through. And so before we end, because we're going to have to conclude, but we're wondering, what would you like to share out of your book? Give us three top things in your book that are so important for Black History Month that everybody has just got to read.
yeah. First, on the subject of, I'm writing about these wonderful, iconic choreographers, directors, um, that a lot of the young people don't know about. Black, and there's one white choreographer, Anna Sokolow, that I worked with, who was the original member of the Graham Company. But all of these people are so important to know about, especially I say that for the Black young people to know where what they're dancing about now, who originally did this, who originally created this. And they weren't just choreographers for dance companies. They did movies. They did, Broadway productions and personal acts. They did so much. And I was blessed to not just work with them, but to also be, friends with them. And I just want that. That is one of my main reasons too for starting to think of writing the book, because so many of the young people didn't know of these people that gave so much to Black history. Vinette Carroll, who was my drama teacher at PA, Performing Arts, she was the first Black female gay that did everything back there in the 60s. And
Oh,
she was wonderful. She was the first Black female to direct a Broadway play called um, Your Arms Too Short to Box with God.
oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was back in the 70s. And then she did a play where I did before she did uh, before she did yeah, I did a play called The Prodigal Son with her, and I was still in school, actually, my last year in high school, and I just loved working with her. She's done a lot of TV and things,
Well,
but yeah, she was.
what I'm hearing right now is that your humility. You're so humble, and I think that just speaks volumes. And this interview was all about Trina Parks, and you spent most of the time giving it up to your teachers. And
And
I
yes,
say that
yeah,
that just
yeah.
just beautiful. And so I'm going to do a little bragging on you a little bit, because you are also the recipient of a congressional award by Ruiz Human Rights
Mhm.
Community Service Award. So why don't you share with us just a little bit about that award?
I at that time, actually, I was in Palm Springs. That was after I did the Follies. I created my own all male dance company, Black dance company,
Wow.
and yeah, and I also wrote a production called
So,
Black and Brown Anthology. Yeah, and my dancers were part of it. So I had singers to portray different characters in the play, and a couple of my dancers portrayed characters like Cesar Chavez was one of my dancers who he
okay.
portrayed Cesar Chavez. And
Yeah.
in fact, it's so ironic because his cousin, late cousin, was Cesar Chavez. And I said, "You look so much like him." But, so I had him do that, and someone portrayed Miles Davis, um, Nina,
Lena
Nana,
Horne.
yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
wrote all of that. So um, uh, um, Mr. Ruiz, who was on the what was he, community council there in Palm Springs, he really liked the production, and he wanted, in fact, it was Black History Month. He wanted me to present it at one of his events, uh, big affairs, political affairs. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's when he gave me that. And then he knew about me teaching all over, the Boys and Girls Club and different schools there in Palm Springs. Yeah. I
You still,
continued to teach after we were on break from the Follies too. Yeah.
are you still teaching now?
Yep. I
Wonderful.
still like was an assistant, um, because in some of the Dunham sections, there's a lot of jumping, or turning, and things. I don't really jump anymore. Some things on the bar I have to have my assistant do. So, but otherwise, yes, I still, yes, I
That
do.
Well, I tell you,
Yeah.
all I can say is we're so grateful to have you because you're still moving, you're still rolling, and you created the very first what do you call those guys that dance to take off their shirts? I can see them, but I can't remember their names.
Uh, 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 oh, the
What do
Chippendale,
the Chippendale?
Chippendale.
You got the first Chippendale, the African American version. But but on a keep your clothes on level, or keep your
Yeah,
clothes
they did.
on level.
They were very classy.
That was just so creative. Again, as an African American woman, to create this all black male dancing
Yeah.
troupe like that, it's just wonderful. So you have just delved in so many arenas, and again, I can't be more proud than to call you sister. And thank you
Thank,
so much, Trina, for joining us today. You
thank
touched my
you.
heart. It's an emotional time for me right now because I gave condolences to all of everyone that has lost their homes or family
Yes.
lost their lives. And
Mm,
yesterday, my uncle Leon
yeah.
Leak passed away, and
Yeah. So
it's been
sorry.
been a rough time for
I know.
everybody. But I
Mhm.
know that all of them are having a ball with the angels. So we're going to celebrate the lives
Yeah.
that are no longer here, but hopefully they're working in other dimensions, doing great things.
Yes. Yes.
Trina, we look
That's
forward to you
right.
coming back and joining us on the next show, and we are going to put that book out there and read a few excerpts and make sure that everyone gets a bit of your history. All right, because there's uh, his history, and then it's
Uh-huh.
our history, but then there's the real history. Okay, so we want
Yes.
to make sure we do that. So, everybody, you've been watching Variety Talk. I am your host, Linda Leak, and make sure you join us throughout the entire month. We are going to continue to talk about the Altadena fires. We're going to continue to hear stories, but most of all, we've got people who can help. And we're going to be bringing them on. So make sure you join us so that you can get information about whatever it is you may need or someone else may need. All right. So, Trina,
Mm,
again,
great.
love you. Thank you. And we will see you very, very soon.
Oh, thank
Take
you.
care.
What a pleasure.